Hi everyone, just thought I'd do a quick video to show you how I do my hair. If it can help anybody, that'd be sick. So I'm going to start off with a teasing comb. It's an old one, but it'll work. And I'm going to split my hair in line with my ear. So my ear is back here. I'm going to take a line from the top of my head to the front of my ear. Now I have a lot of hair, so that's enough hair for me. If I had less hair, I would take it to either the top of my ear or the back of my ear. So if you don't have a lot of hair, or if your child doesn't have a lot of hair, taking it right back to the side of your ear is probably the best bet for you. So I'll just split mine again. I'm going to take mine to about the front of my ear. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be relatively straight. Okay, I'm going to chuck that out of the way. Now you can get your child or yourself to hold this, or you can do what I do. It's quicker. And swap the other side. So we just check that we're even, so we're in front of the ear on both sides. That's about right. So I'm just going to hook this out of the way while I deal with the back. Okay, very attractive, I know. So my back here, I'm just going to put this up into a ponytail for now. I'm not going to be able to move this later, so it is important that you get it up where you want it and nice and smooth pretty quickly. Okay, so just putting it into a standard ponytail with a normal brush. Getting out there. The lumps on top aren't a big deal. It's the lumps on the side and the lumps underneath that are going to show. So you want to try and get those as smooth as physically possible, and as much as your kid will allow you to brush their hair, I suppose. Okay, so we've got it in a nice little ponytail, and we can hook it in like this. Okay, now if you have my length hair or shorter, you can leave it in a ponytail if you have a nice looking ponytail like I do. If you don't have a nice looking ponytail, or you want to tuck it in, or the fact of it being out will annoy you, I'll show you how to get rid of that in just a moment. Okay, so I've got my front bits here. Again, if I had less hair, I would take it back to about here and take it down to the tops or behind my ears. All right, now the teasing part is what everybody freaks out about. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit of practice. So again, using my tail comb, I always start in the middle because I have a center part. Okay, if I start in my center part, I can get rid of it and I don't have to battle it later. If you have a side part, start there. Okay, so if you can see my sectioning, it's really thin. Okay, it might be a centimeter, if that, and I've got a lot of hair. So if you've got thin hair, you need less sections. Okay, we need to work in small sections to get the volume that we want. Okay, so I'm combing that part out of that section. So this is really hard to do on a camera. Okay, parting that section, I can still see it kind of trying to want to part at the top. That's okay, we'll get rid of it. And then we take our comb and drag it from about the middle down to the root. So you can already see there, if I get nice and close, that I've got some knotting happening in there. That's what we want. So starting at about the middle, bringing it down. Okay, I do that 3 or 4 times until I get what I want out of it, which is whatever height I'd like my final hair to be. So if I let that sit, that's going to sit at about that high. Too high is always better, you can always pull it down. Okay, I can always pull this down if I need to, but naturally it sits about there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going, little sections, 1 centimeter at a time, down the middle first. I have a very strategic way of going through my teasing. I don't just start anywhere and finish anywhere. We go the way our hair wants to lean, or the way we want it to lean when we're done. Okay, so I've got 3 sections in mine. Again, if you have less hair, you will do more sections. So a medium amount of hair would do 4 or 5 sections. A thin head person would be somewhere between 5 and 8, depending on their hair, depending on how well it teases. Now my hair is absolutely filthy at the moment, so it's teasing quite well. If your hair is clean, it will not tease as well. There's nothing for it to grip to. Okay, so that's my center section. If we just leave it, that's the height that it would sit at if I left it alone. That's a little too high for me, so I will bring it down, but I have the movement there to put it where it needs to go. It's very 80s, it's very in. Okay, once I've done my center, I will move to either side, it doesn't matter, and do exactly the same thing. I will take small sections, so I haven't gone all the way down because that's just not how my hairline goes. I'm taking a little bit from this joining section. Okay, so the little transition space there, if you can see that, makes a nice little line. And I'll tease this bit up first to the same height. Okay, now obviously it's not going to be as high on the sides, but you need the structure. Okay, and then you always check it back with your first piece. Is it about the right height? Awesome. And then we can move on. Again, taking thin sections, working in a diagonal, because I don't want my hair to go this way. I want it to come up towards my ponytail. So that's the way I section. The same way I want my hair to move is the way I section my hair. Now, I would be hairspraying every section as I go, especially if I have thin hair. Again, I have stupidly thick hair, so mine will hold. But even on competition days, I will hairspray every single section as I finish teasing it. Okay, so there's my side bits. If I put this back where it's supposed to be, you'll see that it kind of blends in that shape. Again, it's all too high, but that's fine. Okay, we're blending it into that side curvy shape there. Okay, flick it over and we try the other side. Okay, so we're going with our tail comb, taking that transition section between the middle and the side, blending that line out. Again, I want my hair to go back to my ponytail, so that's the angle I'm creating. And we tease down. You'll also find if your hair has been bleached, like mine has, it will tease easier because it's more porous and it kind of opens it up a bit. So if you have bleached blonde hair, love that for you. This will be a lot easier on your head. Okay, for our younger girls, go slowly with this. It shouldn't hurt. Okay, it might be uncomfortable. I'm not suggesting that it's comfortable, but it shouldn't hurt. Okay, if we're hurting, it means we're either pulling this too hard or there's too many tangles and we need to just kind of chill it. Okay, and we pull that back towards our head. The most uncomfortable spot will be these bits right by the ears. That will be the bit that hurts the most. All right, so here's my incredibly wonderful look. I would then hairspray this a lot to make it stay on a competition day. I want this to come out this afternoon, so I'm not going to do it today. Okay, but you would hairspray that until it stayed, essentially, till it stayed up. Yeah, that's what I do with the kids, and then when I do it on a kid's hair, I usually say, hey mum, time for a photo. I grab one of these brushes next. This is a soft bristle brush. Where are we? So if I hold that really close, you should be able to see how soft those bristles are. This is also can use a baby brush. It's much the same thing using a basic baby brush. This is our godsend in getting those flyaways kind of tamed down for where we want them to be. So if I have a look at mine, I know that where I want it for height. I'm just going to take my brush and smooth over the very top layer of my teasing. Okay, I'm not pushing down, I'm not trying to brush it out. I'm just trying to get that top layer and any flyaways, any baby hairs that we have around here, trying to get them back out of the way. Again, I would hairspray this after I've done this little brush. Okay, so even just lightly brushing it like that, you can see that all those flyaways that I had really close, they're still there of course, but they're a little bit closer to my head. All right, now we pin. Now the way you pin is up to you. This is the way I like to do it. I like to do the sides first, okay, because the top will go wherever I want it to go, okay? I like to do my sides. Now the shape that we're looking for continues from our ears. Okay, so if your ears sit quite far back, then you might be more suited to a straighter boof as opposed to a rounder boof. This is how we decide which one works for our head. So because my ears poke out just a little bit, mine will be more round. I also have a rounder face and I want to extend it, so I do want to try and lengthen my face as much as I can. Okay, so my edge of my hair should match the outside of my ear. Okay. Once you've got it in a spot that you like, again, we're trying to aim our hair up towards our ponytail. Just chuck a pin in. You can move it if you need to later. Okay, once I'm happy with that side, that looks pretty good to me, I can switch to, sorry, I got two mirrors going. Switch to the other side, again, looking for that line between my ear and my ponytail, trying to get that a little bit more even. Okay, checking that out in the mirror. Aiming my hair towards my ponytail and chucking in a pin. Okay, checking my sides. I'm not looking at this yet. That will sort itself out. But my sides are looking pretty sweet. They're staying pretty still. Okay, I can then move my center wherever I need it to go. So when I pulled it in just then, you could see that I had a gap here. That's just where my hair grows, that's fine. So I can move this around to spread it out to keep it nice and even. So you can see there I just kind of moved it and then pushed down. If I need it to go higher, I push forward. If I want it to come back, I pull back. Okay, so you can see there that I've got a nice little curve going between my ear and the top of my head. So I'm going to chuck a pin in because I like it there at the moment. Okay, once that's in, I've got a little bit more on this side that I need to deal with. Again, trying to find that curve that I like. If you need to, you can get your brushes and your combs involved. Okay, so there's a little lump there that I want to get rid of. Smooth them down. Figure out where your curve is and chuck a pin in. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is the hardest bit. Getting it the shape right is absolutely the hardest part. My suggestion would be aim for even and then aim for the volume. Okay, so at the moment it is a little bit low for what I would like, but the curve is nice and even if you look at the front of my head. So I'm going to put one more in because I can see if you have a look at my bobby pins, there's a gap in my pins. We don't want gaps. So I'm going to chuck another pin in just to make sure it's all in the right spot. If it scrapes your head, it's right. Okay, so if you have a look, I have 5 pins kind of surrounding the top of my head. Okay, that's holding my shape right. Now, because I'm extra, I would hairspray it for sure, and then I would go back through with my comb, gently pulling forward. Okay, and you see that gives me just a little bit extra lift, and I'll do the same on the sides until I get the shape that I want. Okay, as I said, this is the hardest part for sure. It does take practice, you will get there. If it doesn't work, pull the pins out, pull it flat, try again. Okay, at the very least, you've got some teasing and some volume in there, so it will work. Okay, if I'm happy with my shape, I've got a little bit over here. This side's always my worst side. I've got a little bit here that kind of looks a little floppy to me, so if I start jumping around, it'll move. We don't want things moving. So I'm going to grab that and just make sure I don't ruin the line while I do it, but put an extra pin in there for security. Okay, so that's solved that little problem there. If I need to, I can go back in and pull it to match the curve, but it's looking all right at the moment. Okay, so there's my boof from the front. I would then hairspray the bejesus out of it to make sure it's staying nice and still. Okay, have a nice look, little side view. Beautiful. Let's have a look at our back ponytail here. Now you've got a couple options with this. As I said, if it's about this length, you can leave it in a ponytail if that doesn't annoy you. That's absolutely fine. It's not going to worry anybody. To do that, I would just take this hair here and wrap it around my ponytail. Wrap it in like this. Let's cover that ponytail and then just pin that down. So we'll pin that there for the moment and see what we need to do from there. Okay, just chuck a pin wherever it needs to go. And that would be considered done, especially for an intercomp where it's not really that vital that our hair is fully fizzy ready, just out of our face and nice looking. Okay, you can see when I did that, I noticed that my shape had moved. It's what this guy's for. Put him back in your hair, figure out your shape. Okay, if you need to put an extra pin or two in, no harm, no foul. Yeah, so you can add some curls to this, you can straighten this, you can do whatever you like with that. Another option is our tugger bun. So we have a tugger tuck that I famously call it. What that is essentially, it's not a bun where we wrap it around like a ballerina. We find those get a little bit too harsh, especially if they don't have a lot of hair. I have a lot of hair, so I could just pin it like this and be good. But as I said, most of our girls don't have an excessive amount of hair, so we want to try and fluff it out a little bit. Okay, so we're not looking for a wraparound ballerina bun. We're looking more for, I guess, a chignon. Let's wrap that where that's supposed to be before we get too excited. Beautiful. Okay, so for our little tugger tuck, what I do, it depends on the hair, but I usually go under to the very base of the ponytail. So right under here, take a few little sections, just like we did with the top, and give it, I don't know if you can see, there we go, just a little bit of a tease. Now this is my very bleached hair, so it will tease very, very well. Okay, so I can take a little bit bigger of a section. These don't have to be neat. They should still be small, but they don't have to be neat. Okay, so even on girls that have a lot of hair, I do this because it helps hold the structure. This is a very attractive look. Okay, a couple of bits underneath there just to hold our structure. Then with a very small elastic, little elastic rather than a hairband. Nope, too small. With our little rubber band, We're going to gather it and go about 2/3 the way down the ponytail. So I've got my ends here, and I'm going to tie in my ponytail and tuck the ends in. Okay, so the end of my ponytail, whoop, there we go, looks like this. It's just a little bit of a wrap and then a tuck with the ends. Okay, now already you can see what shape that's going to do. Yeah, I don't have to work too hard. I can push this up and go, yep, that looks exactly how I want it to look. All I need to do with the back here is tuck this underneath, and then that little loop that you created with your hair, that's what you're using to pin it to your head. So your pins go into that little loop and into that little elastic. So we can chuck our pins in there. This will take a couple of pins, especially if you've got a fair bit of hair, like I do. And when you're doing this on somebody else, it's a lot easier because you can see what you're doing. If you're doing this on yourself, be patient, it will work. You've just got to kind of feel it out and see what's going to happen. Okay, so anywhere that you want to tuck that ponytail in, we're good to go. Now you can see I've already got a pretty solid shape going here. And that's because of that teasing I did at the very beginning of that ponytail. That little bit of teasing under there just holds that shape beautifully. If your hair's not doing that, it means one of two things. One, you might need more teasing. And two, you might have done your hair elastic too low. Okay, so you might need to take your hair elastic just a little bit higher so that there's some more volume there to push up. Now what I like to do for competitions when we do this hairstyle is get a hairnet, just a loose one. I don't know if I have any here at the moment, stand by one. So I don't have a hairnet at the moment, but usually what I like to do is to put a light hairband over the top. That stops any of my flyaways, that stops it falling out accidentally. It just gives me a little bit more security. Okay, from there I can put any of the bling that I want. The ones with combs or the ones with pins are the best because they sit in the nicest. But other than that, I'm comp ready. One more big spray of hairspray and I'm good to go. If you have any questions or you'd like me to slow anything down a little bit more, please watch this over and over again as many times as you need to. But whatever works for you, let me know if I can help you at all. Thanks guys.